Let me start this video off by telling a story that I've told on the channel before and left a lot of people haunted. Last summer, I was on a camping trip with my entire extended family and I was having a conversation with my 9-year-old cousin. Now, admittedly, he was a bit of an iPad kid, so he was watching a lot of YouTube while we were on this trip. And so I tried to explain to him that I am a YouTuber myself and that I make content around Grand Theft Auto. Now, part of me was expecting to have to explain to him what Grand Theft Auto is in the most family-friendly way. But I don't think I have ever been as disappointed in my entire life as when he responded with, "The game with Spider-Man." And what I've come to learn is that this is the reality for my cousin and an entire new generation that love to watch GTA 5 kids content. When you think of typical kids content within gaming on YouTube, what games come to mind? Minecraft, Fortnite, Roblox, games that usually have a majority kid audience who actually play the games. But what if I told you that one of the biggest games for kids content on YouTube is Grand Theft Auto 5, a game and series notoriously known for stories around drugs, gangs, shooting cops, and committing crime so much that one is literally in the name. But despite this, what I said is true. Through the use of mods, GTA 5 has become one of the largest games producing kids content on YouTube, to the point where some of the biggest creators in the space are ones that create content aimed towards kids. Now, the content that these creators are making is relatively fine for children, for the most part, but even still, it just feels kind of weird. Again, we are talking about kids content being made in a game that doesn't have any kids in it because Rockstar wants to avoid that PR nightmare. And what I wasn't surprised to find is that a lot of these creators go out of their way to bend YouTube's rules around the content they make for this game. And not only do they not seem to care, but they've also found loopholes in order for it to be allowed, despite it clearly being content that they know that kids should never watch. So, let's take a deep dive into the weird world of GTA 5 kids content. It's undeniable that kids content on YouTube has been revolutionary for the platform overall. The concept was pretty much unheard of until the adpocalypse of 2017, which saw advertisers gaining more control over YouTube and being able to stop advertising altogether on channels that were deemed too controversial. Whether that be from excessive swearing, speaking on social issues, or content that was overall raunchy in nature.
But again, if you just look down this page, man, this is 95% demonetized already. So some of my videos have retained their ads, but others of them have not. And it's absolutely so heartbreaking.
People started to see how much control advertisers had over their livelihoods, and so to better adhere to these new guidelines, some would switch their content to what we now refer to as family friendly. 2019 was when we would really see the effects of this change. In this year, CoComelon became the third largest channel on the platform, and many streamers and YouTubers began making big efforts to stop swearing or showing violent content at all on their channel. Most famously, when Ninja made this switch during his peak in late 2018 to have his content appeal to more kids and be a better role model. But no niche on YouTube was affected as much as the gaming world. Games like Minecraft, Roblox, and Fortnite Creative would begin exploding again, with people now using these games to create content specifically targeted towards kids. These sandbox type games essentially give you the tools to create whatever type of content you are looking for by either building it or creating it or using mods to get the desired result. And as it was content that and I bet most of you watching have never really interacted with, I didn't have too much of an opinion about it. Kids need stuff to watch too, and this was a way for creators to make that. But then I started to see the same type of content, but for GTA 5. It's very easy to tell which GTA 5 content is aimed directly towards kids. They usually feature bright and colorful AI-generated thumbnails of characters from kids shows or popular memes, storylines around whatever mods they've added for that video, and finally what I like to call the 2014 YouTube tutorial voice.
I'm spending the next 100 days in the police force, but first, we gotta join.
Seeing these videos pop up a lot around 2022 is when the insane idea of GTA 5 kids content really began to stick in my head. I mean, think about it. With games like Minecraft, Roblox, and Fortnite, most of us played those games as kids and are designed at least with kids in mind for their simplicity, but we also get major enjoyment from them even as adults. But GTA is the complete opposite. Grand Theft Auto is a game designed for adults, which kids are growing up watching despite not being able to play, like is the case with my cousins. And since most kids who watch this type of content would see it before actually playing the game, it left me with the question of whether this changes the perception of what GTA is to them. If you grow up watching these creators in highly modified houses or worlds with cars or skins of their favorite characters, only to get the game one day and find out it's completely different from what they had loved watching growing up, what would their reaction be? And anecdotally, I kind of proved that this was the case with my cousin calling it the game with Spider-Man. False expectations can damage a game before you even experience it. But the weirdest thing that I found is it's also started this really weird trend of parents finding excuses to let their children play GTA. Like I found this post on Reddit, father of a 6-year-old boy who constantly watches GTA 5 obstacle course videos on YouTube here. If I were to get him GTA 5, would we be able to disable the regular gameplay? Now, I'm not delusional enough to say that only people over the age of 18 play GTA. Go into any online lobby and you'll find that isn't the case. But to us, it was about playing GTA as we know it, not the obstacle course or mods that most kids won't even have access to unless they also own PCs. This content has changed the perception of what GTA actually is to an entire new generation. And if they eventually get the game one day and it's not what they grew up expecting, it's probably going to hurt the reputation of GTA to them. Now, ultimately, this is a theory that's pretty hard for me to quantify into exactly if this hurts the game in the long run or not, especially as kids get older and their hobbies change, but it is something I've at least been thinking about. But especially when you think about the fact that we are talking about 6 and 9-year-olds watching this content, it gets a little worse when you dive into some of the content that they could be watching. In order to make kids content on a game like GTA 5, you essentially need to remove the entire GTA part. You need to remove the blood, the swearing, the sexualized billboards and advertisements, the satirical comments, and so nearly everything that makes GTA, GTA. Or at least, you'd think. Because some channels have found a loophole around this, which makes this world of GTA 5 kids content even more disturbing than I had originally thought. Like I mentioned earlier, most of this content is relatively fine as far as kids content guidelines are concerned. It's just the idea that kids content in GTA that's always been a little weird to me. However, where the main problem lies is when the content is heavily advertised towards children, but the content is far from suitable, and no game is worse for this than Grand Theft Auto. Take this video for example. Here we have a ragdoll compilation with Spider-Man as the main character, which to me is almost an immediate indicator of the video being targeted towards kids. However, throughout the video, he is constantly shoving NPCs off buildings or into the ocean, where they are then eaten alive by a shark while also leaving the audible agony scream in the recording. Not only that, but this creator has also purposely chosen all the NPCs to be women in their bikinis. He could have chosen any model he wanted for these NPCs, but he chose that one and he knows exactly what he was doing with it. It's not like I had to search hard to find an example of this either. This is actually one of the most popular GTA videos on the internet, currently sitting at over 200 million views. But to be honest, this is a very tame example. Other examples I found were live streams advertised as TV shows or anime characters exploring around Los Santos, only for me to click on the stream and find Chainsaw Man mutilating people in Vespucci Beach, with the gore even higher than the base game. With the movie releasing, the Chainsaw Man mod saw a huge uptick in creators making content surrounding it, which literally is just them beheading pedestrians for 15 minutes straight. Or we find Gojo using domain expansion to literally rip people's heads off. And yes, before you ask, this content is definitely in violation of the kids content policies on YouTube. And while this isn't an isolated issue just with kids content in GTA, it definitely is emphasized by the fact that the gore is already available in the game. Like, I've found instances where even Roblox creators will blur the fake looking gore within that game, but GTA creators just feed off it being Grand Theft Auto and leave it in with seemingly no repercussions. What's deeply worrying is that a lot of this content falls into a category that has already been highly criticized in the media and even previously enforced due to a major issue that arose on YouTube a few years ago, known as Elsagate. In 2017, videos started appearing on YouTube of well-known characters from kids' TV shows and movies like SpongeBob, Spider-Man, and Elsa. While the title and thumbnail made it look like it was nothing more than a video targeted towards kids, the content of the video was far too disturbing for any child to watch. Sexual acts being performed, characters having their limbs blown off in explosions, blood spilling out after being run over by trains, and even self-harm. The term Elsagate originated from Elsa's prevalent use in these videos, with often horrific things being done to her. The problem was even more widespread than YouTube could have ever imagined, and they even had to release statements shaming these videos and introduce new policies to put an end to this subgenre of content. YouTube's statement read, "In response to growing concerns, YouTube has implemented stricter policies and algorithms to detect and remove inappropriate content. They have also demonetized channels found to be producing Elsagate videos, making it less financially appealing for creators." However, if you look at the videos of some of these GTA channels, for one, it's hard to believe that they aren't made to be appealing to kids, given the criteria that we talked about earlier, and two, it seems that they are clearly breaking these rules, especially when it comes to the gore in these videos. If we take a look at YouTube's new guidelines around kids content, this is definitely not what I would consider to be non-graphic, but yet here it is. Now, these creators aren't as bad as the Elsagate situation, as it's clearly advertised that it's related to something like Chainsaw Man or Jujutsu Kaisen in the thumbnail. But to be honest, it doesn't even matter, because these creators have found a loophole for making this type of content anyway. By simply stating that their content is not made for kids, despite it clearly being with the AI-generated thumbnails and over-the-top stories, they've effectively stated their case that it's not meant for kids. It just happens to be that kids are most of the ones watching it. This is also insanely hard for YouTube to prove otherwise. To me and you, we can easily see that this is a stupid argument. I can't remember the last time I got finished a hard day's work and really wanted to turn on GTA 5 Crazy Ragdolls, Colorful Spider-Man by Dirt Bike on Hulk Bridge, Spider Shark Jumps, but the point still stands. If the creator says that it's not made for kids, but they still watch it, it's not their fault, and unfortunately, it's hard to argue otherwise. Now, I don't want to make this video strictly about calling out these channels for what I subjectively think is frankly weird content they are making, so I will again reiterate that for the most part, the content is relatively fine. A lot of it are just parkour challenges or obstacle courses that just happen to have Spider-Man featured in them. But even with that, the idea of GTA 5 kids content is still a concept that my agent-ass brain may never be able to fully understand. I hope you all enjoyed, stay safe out there, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace!